All right, stand by. Oh, it says it's live. We're live, but it's well, the screen's black. Hold on, I got to fix something here. Everybody gets to see the opening map. That's the most important thing, and I need to see it too. So we've got severe weather going on tonight, and we also have gloom and doom going on tonight. Areas of severe weather in three different places. So we're going to take a look at all of that the rest of the week. The weekend, which may not be looking quite as dire as we thought, but we'll see. All of that tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get that revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. Tempest is so easy to install. You run it from your own mobile device. If you purchase this or anything else from the Tempest website, because they have also some uh, great weather gadgets and gizmos and smart weather fashion, use the coupon code spring 2024 because if you do, Joe, what will they get?
For any gizmo that they would like to purchase, they will get 10% off. Wow.
Yes, exactly. I have the chills tonight, so I got my sweatshirt on. It's been in the 60s. We've had we actually, up until, we had a little bit of, very little, it rained, a lot of rain last night, very little during the day. And then the last hour and a half or so, we've had two big downpours go by here in North Georgia. And of course, you're sitting in gloom and doom.
I would, Joe, I don't know if I would call it gloom and doom. I mean, yeah, it's gloomy, but I mean, to get doom, I'd have to be seeing, quite a bit of rain. And really, for much of the day, we've had, just light rain or drizzle or dribble. But it's not a very pleasing picture if you look outside right now. And I think that tonight, in at least my area, at least in the lower Hudson Valley, we're going to pick up maybe an additional 1 to 3 tenths of an inch. Now, it's a lot different. It's a lot different if you head to the east and to the south and east of where I am. In fact, there are places on eastern Long Island that have already received a rather copious amount of rainfall. I had to throw that $5 word in there, copious. And more copious or significant rain is expected here, or there, I should say, overnight tonight and on into at least the first part of tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tricky tomorrow about uh, the rain looks like it'll be more to the east of you, and I'm pretty confident about that. It's just gonna take all day long to get any clouds out of the way because of this lingering low offshore.
And also we have that a gusty wind tomorrow from the northeast, and winds at times tomorrow could gust indeed past 30 miles per hour. So you add that with the cloud cover, and you add the bit of precipitation, especially early in the day tomorrow, and it is not a very pleasing picture.
No, but you know what's a pleasing picture? All the people on the chat board tonight, and welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast on this Wednesday, the 15th of May. Half the month is done. Uh, those of you who might be lurking in the background and not on the chat board, but like to watch the show in anonymity, we get that, and we appreciate having you here too. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us because we're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35. Fridays and Saturdays we are usually off unless there's a storm going on, in which case we will throw in an extra show here and an extra show there. Of course, usually when we do that, then we take a day off here and a day off there. So anytime we have schedule changes, we do let you know, and we appreciate those of you who support our sponsors, and also for those of you who may be watching or listening to this podcast on Spotify. We are there, and we're also on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, and just about any place else that they call podcasts home. So anyway, Um, we got a lot of severe. We have severe weather going on tonight. Would you like to do the radars tonight, Joe Rayo?
Sure, I would love to.
All right. So while you set that up. I will go through the watches and warnings and the satellite loop, and then when we come to the radar, we'll switch to you, and you could have a look at all the locals because we do have some busy weather going on. We had we have severe thunderstorm watches up for uh, much of eastern South Carolina. South Carolina is kind of in a it's an odd, or it's oriented northwest, southeast. So when you say southeast, do you mean the southernmost part? Do you mean the easternmost part? So let's just say the part that's closer to North Carolina, and also southeast North Carolina, which also under a severe thunderstorm watch. Severe thunderstorm watches are up for northwest Texas in almost a perfect rectangle there in the what I used to usually call the Texas hat, and that extends into Oklahoma and into southern Kansas. Flood watches again up for much of East Texas, much of Louisiana, except the extreme north and the extreme south, and then adventuring into parts of south central Mississippi. We should also point out that all of the Hawaiian Islands, Joe, all of the Hawaiian Islands are under flood watches. Uh, every single, yeah, I mean, usually it's not all of them, maybe the Big Island and not the others, or maybe a couple of the others with the Big Island, but every island is under a flood watch right now in Hawaii. And as we check out the satellite loop tonight, you see the rotation off the East Coast. You also could see the upper low in eastern Kentucky, western West Virginia, kind of slowly moving along. That's triggering off some hefty thunderstorm activity, a lot of lightning strikes in eastern North and South Carolina. And also, you can see the blow up of thunderstorms up in northwest Texas and into the Oklahoma panhandle. And that's only going to blossom out some more. There was some pockets of severe weather earlier in central Florida, but that has passed its peak now, and the clouds have shifted southward. The storms are on off both coasts and not bothering anybody at the moment. All the lightning strikes we see uh, are are on both coasts. So, if Mr. Rayo, if you would, you can go ahead and take us on a journey of radars, please.
As long as you undisable the participant screen sharing.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm sort of one step behind today. Okay, it's all yours.
All right. So here we go with the first radar look. And this is for the folks from National Weather Service in Upton, the New York City uh, site. And you can see why I say that the heaviest rain is going to be mainly east and south of the Hudson Valley. Now, here's the lower Hudson Valley, and you can see, yeah, we're getting some precipitation. I think my wife mentioned on the chat board that in our rain bucket or our rain gauge, we picked up just over 4/10 of an inch of rain since midnight, and that's not bad. But take a look at what's happening right across the border in Connecticut, and especially so central and eastern Connecticut and central and eastern Long Island. You see these areas of green and yellow, and that is indicative of moderate to maybe even at times even heavy rain and shower activity, and that is especially prevalent around the Forks, the Twin Forks area of Long Island. And if you continue northward, moving up toward southeastern Connecticut and maybe coastal sections of Rhode Island, these areas have already received a rather significant amount of rain, and they're going to receive more now. As you can see, the overall trend is for the precip to move to the north northeast. And we're here in the Hudson Valley. We're kind of right on the edge of measurable precipitation.
Yeah, I know. I'm on it. I'm fixing it. Just a second.
Excuse me?
We lost your. Um, hold on, just a second, Joe. Um,
I stop sharing?
no, you're there. A little technical glitch. You're back up. Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you. um, So yeah, as I was saying a few moments ago, the lower Hudson Valley and basically in the immediate New York City area, receiving some precipitation, but not a whole heck of a lot. But as you head to the east, and especially from the lower Hudson Valley east southeast, you can see that a good part of central and eastern Connecticut and central and eastern Long Island in the green, so to speak, the green and yellow indicating moderate to even a bit of heavy precipitation. And that's going to be the story overnight tonight and on into the early part of tomorrow. So if you want rain, if you want more rain, the best thing to do is to go east, young man or young lady. If you stay basically in New York City or the lower Hudson Valley, you'll see some drops, but it doesn't look like it's going to amount to all that much, at least in the immediate future. And as you can see, most of New Jersey, save for the immediate central coastal plain, most of New Jersey is just bone dry with not much of anything happening or seeing anything happening. Let's check out somewhere else. Let's go to Boston, and you could see again this broad area of moisture concentrated again mainly to the east of New York City and affecting again Connecticut, Rhode Island, southeastern Massachusetts, and even up as far north as the Berkshires and western Massachusetts. Although in the final few frames of the loop, that precip is beginning to kind of diminish, so to speak. Is there any place else in particular that you'd like
Oh,
to?
you need to go to North Carolina. You need to go to South Carolina. You need to go to Northwest Texas and
Okay,
southeastern
well,
Colorado. So you got a lot of places that you can go to here.
all right. Well, Raleigh Durham here on your screen right now, and you can see, as Joe alluded, in terms of severe weather. I'm not sure if this is specifically severe, but certainly there is some thunderstorm activity rolling across south central sections and west central sections of North Carolina and on into the adjacent state of South Carolina. In fact, if we go to South Carolina, let's go to Columbia, South Carolina. You can see again some showers and storms. It almost looks like kind of a broken squall line that is continuing to break up just to the north of Columbia and edging away to the east now in this region. And if we do go to Texas, let's go to Texas. We'll go to uh, we'll go to Dallas Fort Worth. And Dallas is
Uh,
not showing anything in the immediate area, although you can see creeping up toward Dallas from the south and west, there are some showers. Let's go further to the south and west over into well, this is San Angelo, Texas, and again, we're not seeing all that much, but we are seeing precipitation north and east of San Angelo. Let's go up to
Amarillo.
Amarillo.
That'll work. Yeah.
Amarillo. Oh, Amarillo, as I used to say when I was in college. This is the panhandle. You call it the hat? This is actually the panhandle of northern Texas. And you can see that there are some rather significant showers and storms building up from the south. And then there's another area that's moving down from the north. You can see here, in particular, this one area, which most likely is producing some sort of severe weather in and around the northern edge of Texas and into the adjacent state of Oklahoma. And yeah, this is the pan, and I guess you can say this is the handle from Oklahoma, and they are indeed getting hit with some significant precipitation. In fact, if we look here, this is Wichita, Kansas, and Wichita is showing some shower activity, and then a sudden flare up here, right here, just to the south of Wichita, near the Oklahoma border. And they again are seeing activity that's again beginning to flare in the late afternoon and early evening hours, and something I'm sure that the Storm Prediction Center is monitoring very carefully as we move on into the early part of the night for this region of the country.
Correct. And on on the wider radar view, which I will take you out while I'm loading that, Helen Bertona, thank you for hitting super chat tonight, and enjoy your Florida trip. And hopefully the heat will abate a bit Joe, you mentioned last night that the Florida heat was out of control, especially with the nighttime temperatures. But they got a front passing through, so that may help the cause. On the wide radar view, just want to point out we also have some scattered showers and maybe even a rumble or two of thunder in parts of New Mexico and Arizona, and even into Southern California, as well as in southeastern Colorado. There are several severe thunderstorm warnings that are up now for North Texas. Further to the north, we've got some rain and also here too, maybe a rumble or two of thunder up from northwest Missouri through central Iowa and back up into Minnesota. And one other spot I want to point out too is that we have a scattered shower and thunderstorm activity from western Pennsylvania, southeast Ohio, southern West Virginia, western North Carolina, and there's a couple of cells just to my north that are moving southeast. And there's stuff on here that the radars aren't picking up thanks to the mountains. The Storm Prediction Center tonight. Uh, we have three severe thunderstorm watches up at the moment, one in Texas, one in Oklahoma, and the other one, as we said, in parts of South and North Carolina. Actually, you have an enhanced risk in the Texas, Oklahoma, Northwest Texas, across into Oklahoma, into South Central Kansas. Also, a slight risk for severe weather in southern North Carolina, northern South Carolina, marginal risk from earlier in Florida, but that's still up. And the tornado risk is not all that high. It's more of a wind and hail situation here with a 15% great small area, 15% or higher probability for hail at least 2 inches in diameter. Okay, so that's that. And the tornado risks, as we said, are all small areas of 2% that are showing up in some of those risk zones. Tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center has marginal risk in South Florida, marginal risk from northern Arkansas, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, western Kentucky, and northwestern Tennessee, marginal risk in extreme northern Illinois and in southern Wisconsin. And we've got an area of marginal to slight risk from the Alabama coast westward across southern Mississippi, all of Louisiana, and extending back across much of the state of Texas and into a small portion of southeast New Mexico. That area comes with a 2 to 5% tornado risk, and also a small area of 2% in southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky. On day three, we have a slight risk for extreme southeast Texas, much of Louisiana, southern and central Mississippi, and western Alabama. Marginal risk poking all the way up into Kentucky. So I imagine that by the time we get there to this time frame, we'll probably have some tornado risk as well. And as far as rain is concerned, the same area has gotten clobbered with rain from East Texas, much of Louisiana, into southern and central Mississippi and southern and central Alabama. They're going to get clobbered again with several to even some areas of 5 to 6 inches forecast for the next week. The Northeast, it's a little tricky here. You've got rain that is showing up, an area of 1.5 to 2 inches, but a lot of that's coming now, or at least this is after 8 o'clock. So that's why that area is pumped up a bit, because that area is getting rain tonight, probably into the first part of tomorrow. And that's also extending up into interior southern and southeastern New England. But you go further north, there really isn't much from Maine down into upstate New York. Then you've got it picking up in West Virginia, North Carolina, further south and southwest across the Gulf states, that big area there. In the lower Ohio and middle Mississippi and Missouri River valleys, we have a large area of 1.5 to 2 inches. Also, an inch and a half plus in the upper Mississippi Valley, inch plus in the northern Rockies, and much of the rest of the country is really just seeing minimal precip. So I'm going to bring up the upper air here. And Mr. Rayo, one of the things that might be, we were kind of looking at this idea of this first system going through tonight, sort of lingering off the coast tomorrow. Then you've got the second upper low that's coming out from the southwest, and looks like it was going to follow a similar path, but it seems now that the models are kind of suppressing that further to the south. So if that happens, I think at least it brings the rain part of the equation. You might be able to take rain out of the forecast for the weekend for most of the northern mid Atlantic up into New England. However, the other question is how much sun are you going to get? Because you are going to have an onshore flow regardless. I don't know how I don't know politically how you stand on this.
Well, what I'm thinking of, Joe, is that we'll probably still have some precipitation to deal with in the New York tri-state area tonight into at least early tomorrow. And then what I'm thinking of is Friday and most of Saturday. I think that when I say most of Saturday, I'm thinking that we might just get by or get through the entire daytime on Saturday without having to deal with any kind of moisture or any kind of precipitation threat. Although, from let's say Saturday evening into early Sunday, we might, I think, again, based upon what I've been looking at, and I'm sure what you've been looking at, we might get brushed with a little bit of precipitation, but a little shower activity Saturday night into early Sunday. And then later Sunday, that should begin to diminish, if not completely end, and then lead us into some good weather for the start of next week on Monday. So if we do get any precip this weekend, it should be relatively minor, and if it does occur, it would happen mainly during the overnight of Saturday night and into the early part of the day on Sunday, leaving much, if not all, of Saturday dry and maybe Sunday afternoon dry. Not a great forecast, admittedly, but not a terrible forecast either.
And the other thing is on the last couple of runs too, if you want to go longer range, because people are thinking about the Memorial Day holiday weekend, is that much of the troughing is pulling away from the East Coast. It moves up into the Northwest and also into South Central Canada. So if that's the case, the Memorial Day holiday weekend may not turn out too bad. I mean, the way it's looking right now, we still got a long ways to go to get there, as far as whether that's reality or not. So you can probably expect model runs to sort of vacillate back and forth on this with regards to whether the weather's going to improve for that holiday weekend. But no matter, that's more than 10 days away. So there's your surface low lingering around tonight and tomorrow. You can see weather breaking out across Texas and Louisiana later tomorrow and tomorrow night with heavy rains. The low start in the east starts to drop southeast. So if there's some rain left over tomorrow morning, it should gradually dissipate as we move through the day, saving us. Uh, it looks okay for Friday. And yeah, I agree. Joe, I agree with you to an extent. There is an area of showers that's trying to move northward, and the model kind of loses it. And then you've got this low in Kentucky that goes southeast into North Carolina and goes well south. But you got this onshore flow for Sunday. So, but I'm kind of comfortable with the way you outlined um, the outlook for this coming weekend for the Northeast, the southern areas of the Northeast and northern Mid Atlantic states. And then as we move into next week, Monday and Tuesday actually don't look too bad. Although we do have a wind off the ocean, but it looks like the high is far enough south that we may actually have 2 days in a row of sunshine. And then some kind of weather front along about Thursday falls apart before it gets here. And then high pressure comes in on this run anyway. You got a nice high that comes in a week from Friday, and goes into the Memorial Day weekend and has a dry for Saturday and Sunday and some kind of front for Memorial Day. So, look, we all know that the Memorial Day holiday weekend, if there's one weekend you're going to lose, at least you usually lose at least one day in that weekend. So, of the summer holiday weekends. So, I would say prepare to lose one day, at least for now. And by the way, the Hurricane Center, uh, the tropical weather outlooks, which started officially today, although in the Pacific they actually started a couple of days ago because they've been following this disturbance in their long range 7 day forecast. Um, Pretty much saying the same thing. Gradual development possible, beyond day 3 and 4. Uh, a tropical depression could form over the weekend while the system moves slowly to the west northwest or northwest, remaining south of the coast of Mexico right through early next week. So it'll probably be the first fish storm. And I did notice, by the way, on the GFS here, let me just bring up where is the Eastern Pacific? So it does something with this low. You can see it there. There's 1,003 low off the south coast of Mexico Saturday night, and then it, kind of drifts west and west southwest. Actually gets it down to the was that a 968? 961? I can't. My glasses, I need to clean them. Uh Looks like it gets down into the 960s. So it does make it into a hurricane out there before it continues on to the west northwest. So, as most of the storms in the eastern Pacific are, Joe, they're usually fish storms. So this one probably will be the first one of the season if the models are correct.
It'll be interesting also to see because I know the GFS was kind of hinting of some kind of a coastal system right off of the North Carolina coast for the beginning of next week on Monday. And I saw already on some of the some people on the chat board talking about, oh, did you see that? Will it develop into something? And would it be a threat on the Memorial Day weekend? And personally, I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I don't think that we need to worry about some kind of a tropical system evolving for next week. I see that front that you referred to next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, moving on through. Then they are trying to build some kind of high pressure system into the region to allow for maybe salvaging the first or beginning part of the Memorial Day weekend, although another system may be coming on through maybe mid or late in the Memorial Day weekend. Again, it's so far off. It's more than a week away. So many things are going to happen. So right now, and I know Cecilia Hernandez especially is commenting. Joe Rayo, you're going to make a mention of what do you think for the Memorial Day holiday? And I will make a mention. I'll say it's still too far to be certain. Um, there's some reasons in some cases to be optimistic, but in other cases there are reasons to be a little pessimistic. If you're hoping to get all 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, right now, I don't think it's going to be happening. I think we may be able to salvage at least one, possibly two nice days that weekend, but all 3 days, I don't think so.
It's a rare occurrence. You got to have a perfect. You got to have a solid ridge in the east type setup and no fronts that are going to come anywhere close by. And I don't know, it just doesn't look like it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I think every 10 or 12 years you get a Memorial Day holiday weekend where all 3 days are fine. And that is very, very unusual. All right, so I know normally we do Brill or Jeopardy, but I am so tired, Joe, that I'm actually going to, we're going to end the show and I'm going straight to bed.
Well,
All right, I might take a
no,
shower first, and
yeah,
then
well,
I might watch a little Perry, um, but just a little Perry. Um, but yeah, no, I'm extra tired today, so I got up at 4 this morning.
wow.
You know, I some days I just sort of wake up at 4 or 4:30 and it's like, okay, now what do I do? And I never used to be, I know some people are morning people, some people are evening people, and I've always been more of uh, an not that I slept till like 9, to the crack of noon, uh, even when I worked when we worked at FiOS or whenever I worked at Bix, I mean, yeah, if I got to bed a little after midnight, I usually would be up the next morning by 7 o'clock or 7:30. But um, I'm I'm now at the point where I go, 8 or 9 o'clock. I'm starting to get. I want to go to bed. So, uh, but if for some reason the last couple of nights I've been waking up at 4 a.m., 4:30, and I didn't get to take a nap today. So, and I also walked 5 miles, so I'm sort of extra tired tonight.
Understood.
Okay.
Understood.
All right.
Under-
So,
my dog
um,
will not go. My dog will not go for that because he needs to stay up and be taken out at least 3 times between now and 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, he's already learned that 11 o'clock is nighty night sleepy time, and he gets very excited by that. I take him out. He does his thing. He comes back in. He must get. He let me stress this. He must get his nighty night cookie. And then when I open the gate to allow him to go down the hallway into our bedroom, he runs, scurries down there, and then waits for me to get there so that I can place him at the foot of the bed where he gets himself all settled in and boop, he just plops down and that's it. He's done for the rest of the night. And that's his routine. And
no, Jay, I'm
if the
sorry. Go
routine
ahead.
is, if the routine is broken, he gets confused. Like, he doesn't understand. So, um,
Well,
anyway,
JJ gets his last walk around 6:30, and then he gets a pre. He goes. He does a pre going to bed during the show because he comes in and he lays down by the edge of the bed. Then when I go to bed, he'll go on the bed with me, and then I'll get in the bed. But the minute I roll over to sleep on, I like to sleep on my stomach with my head facing out of off the bed. He gets off and he goes into the other room. And in the morning when I get up, it's like we pass each other in the night. So when I wake up and I walk into the other room and he's there, he wakes up and he walks past me to go back into the bedroom to go into the bed. And he'll stay in that bed until like 7:30.
do you say when that happens, do you pass him and say bread and butter?
Yeah. It's just funny the routines that they get into. And the
Yep.
routines that we get into. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow, the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. Use the coupon code SPRING 2024 for anything you purchase there. If you do, you will get.
10% off. 99.
And yes, 99. And thank you, Helen Bertona, for hitting Super Chat. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.